What an action-packed show. We did insurance talk with JC. We did mortgage talk with Terry. We did foundation repair talk with Jared. And we ain't done yet. Time to go into our politics segment because this year is an election year. And we've got live here in studio the Republican candidate going up against Joe Barton in the 6th District, running for Congress, Collin Baker. Collin, let's see if we got your mic queued up over there. We are all good to go. Collin, how we doing?
I'm doing well, Mike. Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, I'm glad you could come on down on a Sunday morning, bright and early.
It was a little early, but it was worth it.
Finding our spot, and you know, of course, folks. Funny thing, we can't actually even park in the garage. That's we have to go into a parking garage and take a private elevator up in here, but we can't even park in this garage. So it's always kind of funny getting people here and telling them to park somewhere else. But
well, it was a nice area to walk through.
Sure, yeah.
The sidewalk's really nice. The people said hi and waved. I mean, it was great.
There you go. Well, let's get into a little bit of your background. Let's tell people, you know, who you are, what you've been doing, and why in the heck you want to run for Congress. And, you know, you come out of the automotive industry. And so just give us a little bit of background. Tell us about you.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, my name's Collin Baker. I've been in the automotive industry for the past 12 years, running parts and service departments for automotive dealerships. And it sort of happened that as we went through, my job became to fix underperforming parts and service departments. And in so doing, we would institute processes and institute different procedures. And it never fails. You've always got the employees that don't particularly want to do it a certain way, and they'll come up with excuses as to why it can't be done. It's too difficult. The partners may not like it, other things like that. And my response to them is always, I don't come to work scared, and neither should you. And and I've never been a politician before. I mean, I've never held office. I've never done anything like this.
That's a good thing.
And I think so too, because a phrase that gets kicked around a lot is, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Right.
Well, we as the Republican side of things expect them to make the government smaller. We expect them to make us more free. We expect them to have a constitutional form of government. Yet we keep voting the people in office who haven't got it done.
Right.
So I think it's important for someone who's never been involved in the process to run, and even more important for someone who doesn't really plan on being a lifetime politician to run, because one of the things that I think we truly need are people who want to serve for a short time, make us more free, decrease the size of government, and then step out and go back into the private sector and let somebody else take over before you can catch the disease that seems to run rampant in Washington, which is complacency.
Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, some of our greatest politicians didn't really want to be politicians. You know, they were, you know, doctors, lawyers, or just regular Joes, you know, merchantmen. And they went in, they did their job, and then they left. And then oftentimes, you know, they were begged to come back, and sometimes they were needed, sometimes not. But I think that's, you know, we the people of the people is lost. And, you know, what you're saying here, I think really resonates with a lot of people is, you know, people go in, they become a politician, they catch the disease, as you say, but then we just keep sending them back. And that's on us.
Well, it is. And when you look at the voter data, I mean, there's 750,000 people in District 6, and the primaries only 41,000 vote. So, I mean, you hear a lot of people say my vote doesn't count, my vote doesn't count. Well, there's 710,000 people saying my vote doesn't count, or 710,000 people saying my vote doesn't count. It does.
Yeah.
A lot.
It absolutely does. And by the way, as far as that district is concerned, what we're talking about is a huge part of Tarrant County, which includes a fair bit of Arlington, Crowley, Fort Worth, Grand Prairie, Mansfield. A lot of you are in this district. The 6th District, Navarro counties, say Corsicana, lots of towns down that way. A lot of Ellis County, Waxahachie, Midlothian, Ennis. A lot of you guys are part of this district. It's a huge piece of the area as part of District 6. So, guys, in those areas, you need to be listening.
And I've gotten to go to a lot of these different areas, and I can tell you, super nice people everywhere I go.
Oh, of course.
I mean, the Corsicana Opry House. We spent some time there talking to some people, and I've never been there before, but I mean, it was really neat. We're gonna have to go back and watch a band play or two.
There you go.
Maybe even sing on stage. Who knows?
Hey, there you go. Well, and so I want to go back a little bit more to this, that we've got politicians that they just stay in office, and they don't maybe get just what the average, Joe and Jane are going through on a daily basis. But we send people in from, the ground level, and maybe they can make a difference for a few years. But you're exactly right. But because you don't want to go in there and stay, you want to go in, see if you can make a difference.
Correct.
You want to serve.
Absolutely.
And but you don't want to do it for life. Go in and serve, and then go back to regular life.
Right. Go back to what I was doing. And I think that one of the things we need to do is get legislation pushed through that forces that. It's worked very well in the office of the president when we put in term limits, and I don't see why. I mean, Congress controls the money of the government, and money makes everything run.
Right.
And we've got people that just spend their lives in there that are completely out of touch with what we do on a daily basis. So I think that it's more important now than ever to get some term limits in for these Congress people, so that way they don't have a choice. They've got to leave at some point. Exactly.
And we hear about term limits all the time, and we'll see candidates in the past that have talked about it, and it never seems to go through. And, you start to wonder, are they ever going to agree with that? Because they're getting rid of their own jobs. Are we going to ever get enough of them to say yay on this?
Well, and Ted Cruz actually just made a nice post online about stating that some of that's our job as voters to make sure that politicians understand that there is a penalty for doing the wrong thing by us. Right now, up in Washington, because there's relatively few people that actually get out and vote, up in Washington, the penalty for doing the right thing is actually worse than the penalty for doing the wrong thing, because the people up there will make you pay a higher price than the actual voters back in your home constituency.
Right.
And I think we need to reverse that trend. We need to show them that we are watching and we will vote, and the price for doing something that we don't want you to do is going to be high. And,
right.
I think we have a chance this election cycle to prove that.
Well, I think you're bang on, because the power up in D.C. is killer, and they can.
Yes.
If they decide if you're not going to toe the line up there, then guess what? They can put something together and kill your career.
Correct.
Whereas we're just going to keep sending them back. For example, in your district, going against Joe Barton, the incumbent, he's been in since 1985.
Long time.
Long time.
Yes.
And not that he's done a bad job. We're not saying anything like that. I mean, you'd have to look at his record from, 85 till now. That's a long record to go over.
It is.
And certainly he's been a great supporter of the area and done a lot of great things, no doubt. But at the end of the day, how effective can you be staying in Congress for that long?
Correct. And he's on the Energy Committee, and he's on a couple of other committees, and obviously those can get held over a politician's head, and I believe they have in Mr. Barton's case. Because if you go against what the establishment in Washington wants you to do, they'll take those away.
Right.
And it comes with extra clout, it comes with extra power, it comes with a lot of things that these career politicians actually want. And so, again, the price of making the right decision for the people of your constituents is higher than the price of making a decision that goes against what they do in Washington.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, because when you go up there, you're going to have to hit your head against the wall nonstop to fight for what your constituents want back home. But that's not how the game works there.
No, but like I've said before, I don't go to work scared. I mean, you're there to do a job. You're there to make sure that the people that you work for, which are the people of the United States, the people of your district, get the results that they're looking for. And I will say that in my professional career in the private side of business, any person that's over me, my boss has my cell phone number, and I'm readily reachable at any time to them, and I should be that way for the constituents of District 6. And so on my business cards, on my website, on my Facebook page, on everything I do, I put my cell phone number. So if any of you want to reach out to me, I'm always there. I'm literally a phone call away, and I'll answer.
Absolutely. And that's going to kind of dovetail nicely into talking about, being present if you're in that office and not missing votes and being there to vote because that's your job. We're sending you there to represent us. We'll get back into that in a second. Folks, we're going to take a short break. Mike Kruizinga, Inside Real Estate Radio. Be back in a few.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey, folks, we are back. Inside Real Estate. Mike Kruizinga. Website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. InsideRealEstateRadio.com. We're going to resume our conversation in our politics segment. Of course, this is an election year, so we're talking to a lot of the candidates that are going to be running for office. And we've got in studio Collin Baker. He's running in District 6 against Joe Barton, the incumbent, running for Congress. And so let's get back into it a little bit. Let's talk about, you say you're not scared to go to work. You're going to go to work every day. And, we kind of forget once we put these people in office, we kind of zone out a little bit. And they're supposed to be there to vote and on all the various things that are going on in Congress. And a lot of times they don't. By and large, the incumbent has had a good attendance record. They have a lot of votes. But at the same time, even 5%. Is a big number when that's your job.
It absolutely is. And he's been in office a long time. Obviously, we have a large number of votes that he has either made or missed, but he is in the top 25 percentile of missed votes in the House of Representatives. And again, on a long enough timeline, I guess anything could possibly happen. But
sure.
Congress they don't work every day like everybody else does. So when you're looking at a 5% miss rate, that's high. And you have to ask yourself, was it because truly something was going on, or was it because there were particular votes that he would have rather not been on record about?
Exactly.
And nobody can answer that question but him. So I can't speculate, but
exactly, and that's what we don't like is in the game.
Correct.
When you're going to be penalized for standing up and saying yes or no, and by and large, this goes into what you were saying earlier. But the powers that be on the Hill are the ones that are going to knock you.
Absolutely.
And you might get hit either way, saying yes or no, and so they just don't vote at all, and we don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, you send your representative there for a particular purpose, and that's to vote the way that you as a constituent wanted them to vote. And if they don't do it at all, inaction is worse than going the wrong way sometimes.
Yeah, and inaction is inaction.
It is. It is an action. You're basically allowing whatever's going to happen, and you're not fighting for anything at that point.
Exactly. You're not standing up for anything at all. By the way, in 2015, Barton's record, he missed 27 of 704 votes. Now, obviously, 704 votes is a lot of votes to be present for.
A lot.
And missing only 27 is kind of a small number, but when that is your only job and legislative sessions only last for so long.
Correct.
Honestly, we the people we put you in office, we expect you to have 100%.
Yes.
And as far as everybody else, if you look at everybody else, overall over his career, he's down in the 4%, about 4.2 lifetime, which is pretty good for someone who's been in for as long as he has. But why strive for mediocrity? Why don't we strive for being present every single time?
Well, that's true, and this may go back to term limits as well, because after a while of being in there, it starts to be the norm. You just this is what you do every day. You're going to get elected next term. It's not that big a deal. So maybe we miss a couple. No one's going to notice. If you only have a limited amount of time to get something done, obviously the deadline's going to make you work harder to get it. So again, we need people that aren't wanting to stay there their entire lives, that don't have a political career to look forward to, and that will actually do the will of the people and be able to transfer some of that power back.
Absolutely. And of course there's people in Congress that have earned double-digit percentage points of not showing up, and but you just need to be there every day. Let's last couple minutes here. Let's give a 120-second on why the people need to put you in office.
Again, I'm not a politician. My intention is not to be a politician.
Sold.
So and like I said before, I don't go to work scared. out of the myriad of bills that might come across the House of Representatives chamber, and there are going to be a ton of them.
Yes.
So to speak to each and every one of them is probably impossible in the short time that we have today. But what I can make is a promise to the constituents of District 6 that they will always pass through 3 qualifications with me before I decide which way I'm going to vote. And that is it constitutional? Does it make us more free? And does it decrease the size of government? If any of those answers are no, then my vote will be no on every single one. If it passes those 3 qualifications, then my vote will be yes. And it's extraordinarily simple. And that's the promise that I'll make to you, regardless of what it does in Washington to my perceived political career that I don't really want. I will vote that way every time for you.
Right there, folks, is exactly what the people want to hear. Keep it simple, sweet, and you put it very succinctly in those three qualifiers right there. If most politicians, went by those 3 qualifiers, our country might be in a heck of a lot of better place than it is now.
I couldn't agree more.
Folks, we've been talking with Collin Baker, who's running for Congress, District 6, going up against Joe Barton. Give me those 3 qualifiers again, because I want the people to hear those again. I want the people to hear those 3 again.
Is it constitutional? Does it make us more free? And does it decrease the size of government?
Yeah, that was definitely worth repeating because, honestly, that's what the people want.
Absolutely. It's what we need.
Yeah, it is what we need. It is absolutely what we need. Folks, for more information on Collin, Collin Baker is running for Congress. Okay, it's CollinBaker2016.com. Collin with 2 L's, CollinBaker2016.com. He's running in District 6. So if you're in part of Tarrant County, Navarro, Ellis County, then you need to check Collin out. Hey, folks, we've had a great day, action-packed day. Inside Real Estate Radio, InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. Hey, next Sunday, 8 a.m., we're here every week. See you next week. We're out.